All right. I actually accidentally created a 1 second sound file you'll find in the Dropbox because I accidentally hit
How
record
exciting.
earlier. Yeah, this is good. Okay. I've turned off my notifications, but I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave my network. I'm gonna leave Dropbox on. You know why? Because I've got lots of bandwidth now.
Have you? Well, you've got your new network.
I do. I do. All right. So here's the thing. I was having issues with my existing Wi-Fi network. It started out as there's a bug that Eero has been dealing with where when you move from one, if you're, you've got your phone in your pocket, you're walking around your house, and I had the pack of three, so there was one in the basement, one on the first floor, one on the second floor. And as you move around the house, it hands off to different base stations, and you're supposed to just be able to seamlessly move from one to the next. Well, that stopped working. So, and you just don't know. It just, it just disconnects from Wi-Fi, and then you're on LTE, which is fine, except that since I recently dropped cable, Comcast has cut down the amount of data I can use each month. So I don't really want to spend all day on LTE in my house if I don't have to. So that was a problem, and it was irritating me. And it's a problem that seems to happen to certain devices, not a particular kind of device, just individual random devices and not others. So it was affecting my phone, but it wasn't affecting everybody in my house. So that was problem number one. Problem number two, all of a sudden my internet got really slow. It was like 30 megabits per second down, which that's just not good if I'm doing things like talking to you on Skype and trying to record. So I decided it was time, and I figured too that Comcast had somehow broken my internet because I don't trust Comcast, and I'm very happy that I dropped cable and that I'm just using Hulu and Netflix now. But it's exactly what I feared it would be, which is a fair amount of hassle. I mean, I think I've had 4 or 5 calls with their support line. I had to go to a store to drop off my old TV boxes, all kinds of things. Wasting time that I just don't really have to waste. So I called up Comcast and they came out. And of course they give you well, if it's not our fault, if it's yours, we're going to charge you. Fine. So these guys come out on a Friday evening after I get home from work and I'm tired. And they come and they look at my network equipment and they just proceed to badmouth my network equipment. It's like, well, that's not why I called you. I called you to fix the problem. Well, there was a problem with the hardware, right? My cable modem is old. I've had it for a long time, and I bought it myself because, at least here in the U.S., when you get internet service from the likes of Comcast, if left to their own devices, they will give you a crappy cable modem, and they will charge you $10 a month for the rest of your life for the right to use that. When you can go out and
that's a bargain.
Yeah, and you can go out and buy one for like $50 or $60 with not even on sale. So, all right, I had an old Speedstream Motorola modem that was a bottleneck. It was slowing down the network because it's just older. So also they told me the switch that I have our house is wired. We have Ethernet cable going to the walls. We did it long ago enough that unfortunately it's only 100 megabit Ethernet. Cat 5e, not 6. So the switch that I had was also a bottleneck to a degree because the wires in the walls can only handle so much anyway. So I went out that night and I got a new cable modem. And I also got a new switch. And the switch was the really expensive part. I was a little surprised. But in any event, I got a Netgear, I think it's called a CM500 cable modem, which is whatever the latest flavor of DOCSIS is, which is the high-speed cable network internet technology that Comcast uses.
Right.
So I did that, and this whole setup took a while. I'm not really that swift when it comes to network stuff, but in any event, I eventually got it working. And the really good news is that because my little office setup where I'm recording right now is in the basement, not too far from where the cable comes into the house, I have strung a very long Cat 6 cable from that box all the way into where I'm recording right now. And with that, I can get 350 megabits per second down now,
Wow.
which is pretty solid. That and then 30 up. So, but that's just about the only place in the house where that's even possible.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the wires are 100 megabits, so they're limited that way. So that was step one. But the Eros, I couldn't get them connected back to the network. I was having trouble. I think if I kept trying, I would have gotten it there. But I was having trouble with it, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go and get myself it was an excuse to spend money, Rob, is really what it was.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Everybody, it doesn't really take much. And I think if people have listened to this show for a while, they know that you and I are always looking for an excuse to spend money on some sort of hardware or software.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Or software or whatever. So I went out and got a what is it called? Netgear Orbis. All right. So it's their mesh network solution that's kind of long. There's a whole bunch of companies that have these now that are, somewhat like the Eero. And they're much bigger than an Eero. They're more like a flower vase size, maybe a foot tall or so and 6 inches wide, kind of curvy looking, a little strange, but they've got a little bit of that Google Home look to them where they look like maybe, is that a vase or is that like an air freshener? What is that thing? But
right.
They're inoffensive looking despite being kind of big. And the nice thing about it is you don't need as many because they've got big antennas inside. So there's one in the basement and one on the first floor that is sitting on a counter near the telephone. And it covers the whole house, and it does a really good job so far. And even it's like any Wi-Fi. It's not as solid as having a wire, but there are parts of my house where I can sit and get over even faster than I could over those old 100 megabit Cat 5e wires. So I can get over 100 megabit per second internet here and there on Wi-Fi, depending where, if I'm situated relatively close to that router. So it's pretty nice.
Nice. I'm just looking on the website for these because I wanted to kind of know what they looked like. And yeah, you're right. It just kind of, is it just a little ornament? Has it got a little light on it? Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
What is the Amazon Alexa integration? Like, what exactly is it you can do with these, with the Alexa?
I had no idea what it is. I didn't know it had that. I just got it working.
On their website, they're like, oh, there's Echo integration, but I can't really work out what the point would be.
The integration is probably that you can hook up an Echo to it and it works. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Their one suggestion is turn on the guest network.
Oh,
so if you have
okay.
a guest Wi-Fi network, so I guess I can see that's fairly useful.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it has that kind of feature to it. Yeah, that's the kind of feature where I suppose that's fine, but I just want it to work and not have to be rebooted a lot. So far, so good. I think my network situation is a little messy in my house. It was one of those things where 15 years ago we added on to our house, and I had to try to anticipate where the technology was going and where we'd want all these jacks and everything in the walls. And I did an okay job, but if I had to do it all over again, I would have gone with Cat 6 wire, which was very new and pretty expensive at the time to run it throughout a house. And I would have put some of the wall, jacks are in weird places because I thought we'd put furniture here, but we didn't. And yeah, but it works pretty well overall, and I'm pretty happy. I've been happy with it so far. It's just that, when there is a glitch, the problem is, you have to kind of take down the whole network and then bring it back up in certain steps. It's like reboot the cable modem, takes forever.
Yeah.
And then you have to reboot the wireless, takes forever. Make sure the two devices are connected to each other. Okay. Then you have to go and turn on the switch, let that boot up. It just takes a long time to kind of bring that whole thing up if it goes down. And it's never at a convenient time. There's always somebody who's wanting to watch something on television and they can't, especially now that is my television is over the internet. So I kind of need it to stay up if anybody wants to be entertained.
Yeah, we got pretty lucky. I mean, we're using the free router / modem that we got from Virgin Media for our internet. But for the most part, I mean, I'm on Wi-Fi now recording this, and it's fine. I haven't actually done a speed test, but it works for this, and that's mostly what I use it for. So it's not a huge issue, and it even works up in the attic as well. I can still get internet out there and stuff like that. So we're pretty lucky, but our house is relatively small. Like it's not a tiny house, but it's not It's not a huge house where we'd maybe need to get some of these Netgear Orbeez, although they do look really nice. And now I'm looking at prices.
Yeah, they're nice. They're like any of these mesh network devices. They're kind of expensive, but they I so far mine's been working really well. Our house tends to be a little hard to cover just because there's a chimney that runs up the middle and it's brick, and the outside of the house is brick, and it's an older house, so some of the building materials in the core of the house are really dense, so it can be hard to get the signal everywhere. But these have been doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'm just looking on Amazon, actually. These aren't too expensive in the UK, so I can get the router and then the satellite bit of it, I guess, which is two different bits, for about £220, which is not too bad.
That's less than I paid, for sure. I got them as a set. You can buy them as a set.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too, as I say, ours is fine for now, although our speed keeps getting upgraded, and it means like we're not actually getting those speeds out of the Wi-Fi, but for now it's fine.
Yeah, you can never. It's like most things. Your computer can never be too fast, and your internet can never be too fast, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if I could get fiber into my house, I would.
Yeah,
but
anyway, yeah, these look nice. So stick them on a wish list and maybe keep an eye out on Prime Day and Black Friday and all of the other days that Amazon have now to drop their prices on stuff.
Tempt you to buy stuff. Yeah, I actually went out. I went out and bought mine at a store, like a real person, which was, I wanted it now.
Oh.
I wanted it now.
Like talk to people.
I did. Anyhow, so hey, did you? Let me think about what time this whole leak thing happened with the iPhone X. I think it's going to
for us, or for me, it was about 4:00 in the morning.
Okay.
Or it maybe happened an hour before that, but I woke up at 4:00 in the morning, just because I couldn't sleep, and I kind of checked Twitter and saw all these leaks coming out from 9to5Mac.
Oh wow, yeah. I woke up to it. I was up, I think, but I had been playing Breath of the Wild, taking a little break from getting ready for the September 12th event. And I just went to bed without checking Twitter, so I think I just missed it, and so I woke up to all that, and it was kind of floored me that actually got out.
Yeah, I think we're not really going to go into the specifics. Although one thing that did jump out at me, kind of related to what we were just talking about, the 4K streaming, which I think is mostly been confirmed at this point for this new Apple TV we're going to get. Requires a minimum of 15 megabits per second. Is that right? 15 down, basically.
Okay.
Which kind of sounds okay, except I know for a fact that a lot of people, certainly in the UK, don't have more than about 5 or 10.
Yeah, that's very true in the United States too. I mean, we have some of the slow we have a pretty slow internet compared to a lot of countries.
Yeah, it's I thought that was interesting that they're going to be you can get 4K, and maybe people have 4K TVs and stuff like that, but I know like the internet at my parents' house, they maybe get 3 or 4 down if they're lucky.
Yeah.
So it's not, this 4K streaming is not going to be open to everybody at all.
What's amazing is there are actually a significant number of people in the US still using AOL with dial-up.
Yeah, I always hear about this. I remember hearing it about 10 years ago when I was in I think I was in New York, and I saw it on an advert, come and get dial-up. Like, they're still advertising dial-up then.
Yeah.
And then every now and again I see these stories about how many people are still using dial-up in the US. Which kind of makes sense given the size and, the varying kind of sizes of cities and towns,
right,
and stuff like that. But, yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, if you're way out in the middle of nowhere, a lot of people use satellite. Like, I think DirecTV actually which is a satellite TV provider, has some sort of internet hookup that they can do. It's really terrible though, because those services were designed to broadcast TV, so they can send a fair amount of data down, but they can hardly send any data up.
Yeah,
because you got to send it to outer space after all.
Is that all we're complaining because we can't send our data quick enough to space?
Yeah, maybe. It should be a lot faster.
Yeah, so these leaks, I mean, I guess it's one single leak. It was, it was the leak of the iOS 11 Gold Master. GM stands for Gold Master, is that right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was leaked. I don't, there hasn't really been any confirmation from where that's come from. I mean, you've got to kind of assume it's got to be an internal thing.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine why anyone else would have, the GM build of iOS 11, especially before the event.
There was some speculation that it was a carrier leak of some sort, because presumably carriers may get that sort of thing in advance. However, at least during Fireball, I know was saying that it was John Gruber said he had been hearing that it was an internal thing.
Yeah, I mean, which kind of makes sense and would line up with what we heard about the HomePod. Although that was on the servers, I think you wouldn't have been able to know the URL or whatever without somebody telling you. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly been a lot of problems this year with leaks coming out of Apple. Certainly related to the September's group of products that are coming out.
Right. That those links, I guess, wound up on on Reddit on Friday night. So that's I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they were also leaked directly to 9 to 5 and whoever else. I don't know who else might have gotten it, but they definitely showed up on Reddit at some point. I don't know. I had heard from somebody that the links weren't working anymore. I haven't tried them myself though.
Yeah, I had heard that. I think maybe Apple aren't signing them anymore if you try and install it somewhere.
Right.
That specific build. So, I mean, as we said, I don't want to go too much into the specifics, although the one that really bugs me, the back button for deep links.
Yeah.
It seems like that's still going to be at the top of the screen, but on the obviously the new kind of notched iPhone, it's just kind of dumped below the status bar.
Yeah. So I have a theory about that. Mm-hmm. My theory is the reason it's below like that is because they need to have a large enough touch target for you to be able to scroll to the top by hitting the status bar.
Yeah.
And that is only going to be on the left side. This is my theory. I have no idea. That you'll be able to still do that, which is something that I was wondering when we got this notch style status bar, whether you'd still be able to do that, and I really hope that you can. Haven't seen anything that says you one way or the other, but in order, if that's in fact the case, if you can do it, I think you need to have that little back button far enough below that touch target so people aren't hitting it inadvertently. That's my theory. I agree with it. It looks bad, and I don't think it looks any worse than it did before, but
oh no,
but. It's a very inelegant solution to a feature that the phone should have, and it's too bad that they didn't rethink how to actually implement it.
Yeah, my hope, and this is a pretty long shot, but my hope is that for whatever reason we're not seeing the proper build for what's going to show up on this new notched iPhone, because from everything I've seen, that back button really should just be at the bottom of the screen next to the little home bar thing that we're going to get.
Yeah,
that seems to make the most sense of where it would go.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess maybe the problem there is that if you're using very rough gestures to unlock your phone and open up your phone, you don't want to have to necessarily hit the center of the phone. You know what I mean? And that could be an issue. I guess although maybe it's not an issue if your phone's locked, right? I mean, why would you have a back button that would be active if your phone was locked? So maybe maybe you're right. I mean, I could see doing something like that. That makes some sense as to where it would be. It's about the same height as the pictures we've seen of this little bar that's at the bottom. It's like a little grab handle, basically. That's supposed to, I think with a swipe up is supposed to open. It sounds like it's going to work a little bit like the iPad, where you go part way to get to unlock, and maybe further to get the control center. I'm very curious as to how exactly control center is going to work, because they Apple completely redesigned control center. I don't think they're getting rid of it, but they're also the reports have been that the gesture to unlock your phone is basically going to be the gesture you used before to get to the control center.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's probably not worth going too in depth because within 2 days we're either going to sound really smart or really stupid, because the answers are going to be out and we'll kind of know.
Yeah, and which is the most likely way we're going to sound.
Well, yeah, historically speaking,
at least personally. I mean, I think I'm on record with telling Federico that I thought face detection was never going to happen or something like that.
yeah, yeah, I think we've both said some crazy things like that in the past, but
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of people kind of maybe annoyed by the leaks, like as if like the event has been spoiled, and I don't really buy that. Like, it's only really Apple employees have an obligation to not leak this stuff. I don't feel like it's I don't feel like any of us have any obligation to not spoil this stuff. Like, if you I know it's kind of been all over the internet, but if you're going to read 9 to 5 Mac or Mac rumors, like, you're going to see this stuff.
Right. Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, these links got out of Apple and they were on the internet, which is very public, and to assume that sites that cover that kind of stuff aren't going to report on it or shouldn't report on it, I think is, I don't know, maybe it's naive, but it's just kind of silly. I don't have any issue with it myself. I'm a little disappointed that I know all this stuff, and part of me is also pretty happy because I've got a bunch of articles to write on September 12th, and now I can write some of them in advance.
Absolutely. I mean, you at least have got some context for what's going to happen.
Yeah, it makes my job a little easier.
But in terms of spoiling the event, I mean, the fact that we're sat here still with loads of questions, like about the back button placement, like, is it definitely going to be there? We've got the LTE Apple Watch was leaked from this firmware as well. Like, I'm certainly convinced that that's going to be US only for a while, because I just don't think the UK carriers will be on board with it straight away. Mm-hmm. There's still so many unanswered questions, like stuff like pricing. We don't know, when these phones are going to be available. Like, if this new fancy notch phone is going to be available straight away, or if it's going to be limited, and prices, and how the software is really going to work. Like, I think there's still enough questions that the event is still going to be interesting to watch, even though we know all of this other stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of implementation details that'll be interesting, especially when you're talking about implementation of the software on this specific new hardware. And, I guess remember, too, that we don't know that much about the hardware. We know generally what the form factor is, but we don't know the details about, for instance, the camera. Obviously, it's designed in some way to work with face detection, but how that is actually implemented, I don't think we really know at this point.
No, definitely not. So, I think it's still going to be a good event. Obviously, if you're listening to this after Tuesday, then you know whether it was a good event or not.
Yeah.
So, but anything else on the leaks?
No, I don't think so. I think you're right. I mean, it's gonna be here soon enough. So let's see what comes on Tuesday, and I guess move on, because I know that you were playing a new game recently.
So I think I mentioned last episode that Uncharted Lost Legacy had either come out at that point or was coming out. And this started as a DLC for Uncharted 4, and then as Naughty Dog were working on it, they ended up realizing it was maybe a slightly bigger game. So they released it as a standalone game. And yeah, I got it on release day and kind of pretty much played it every evening for a few days. And I think I hit maybe 8 or 10 hours to complete the game.
Okay, so does it tie in with the original software at all? I mean, so it's not like traditional DLC where you actually are like opening Uncharted 4 and then going into some mode, right?
No, it's entirely a standalone game. For the most part, I feel like you could enjoy it even without having played the other games. There are references back to the other characters and other things that have happened, but for the most part, like, it is entirely standalone. And it's using you play as Chloe Fraser, who was a character in Uncharted 2. And then you play along with Nadine, who was a character in Uncharted 4.
All right. So what's kind of without any spoilers, what's kind of the setting and what do what's the storyline all about?
Yeah, so you're looking for, like most Uncharted games, you're looking for a specific artifact. In this case, it's the Tusk of Ganesh, which I believe is I don't know how much basis in real life that there is. Like if this is supposed to be an artifact that exists. So yeah, you end up in India. This kind of huge open plain. There's a section where you're driving around a lot, and there's lakes and trees and mountains and stuff like that, and then you end up in kind of the cities and stuff like that. So yeah, in terms of the placement, like it's kind of a lot like the other Uncharted games. You kind of jump around a lot of different places, but obviously with it being a little bit shorter, a lot of it is in this kind of big open space where you're kind of just driving around looking for certain different things.
All right. Oh boy, did you just hear that loud beep?
I did not.
Oh, it's just in my head. Sorry. I'm hearing things again. Oh, that sounds like a cool game. I definitely want to check that out sometime. I've got that on my list. I want to play Mario and Rabbids on the Switch.
Yeah, me too.
I heard, I think Mike and Federico talking about it on Remaster this week, and it sounds like they both haven't played it a lot, but they both have enjoyed it so far, and I think that's a game that I'd like. It's kind of an interesting take on Mario. I'm not sure about the Sonic game if I'm going to go for that Sonic Mania. Have you tried that yet?
Yeah, I played some of it. And again, going back to the remaster episode this week, I think I mostly agree with Federico that it doesn't excite me that much. Like I enjoy the game for what it is, but he kind of mentioned like you because of the kind of game it is, you kind of have to run fast and just kind of go through, but you don't necessarily get a chance to kind of stop and enjoy the level design. Compared to something like Mario, where you kind of do get to enjoy what's going on there.
Yeah, no, I can see that, and that comment that he had, that's what really made me think again about whether I was going to actually play it, because I can see myself having a similar reaction to it. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't have time to do it right now anyway, so maybe next month. We'll see. So you know what? I will admit that I took a quick peek at Twitter while you were talking, and I see that Jeremy Burge is taking over our role in talking about bad fast food.
Oh.
He is in Italy, in Sicily, and what do you think they put on their pizza that they call the Americana?
Oh, please tell me it's pepperoni and pineapple.
No, it's far worse. It's French fries.
Oh, what? No. Oh,
French fries. That's what I said. French fries on pizza.
Oh, that's awful.
One slice for €2, I think it looks like.
I think you can get kicked out of Italy for that. I think they'll revoke your citizenship.
Well, especially Sicily. I mean, come on, Sicily. What are they doing? That's they got to revoke their license to make pizza in Sicily. I'm going to have to send that one to Federico.
Oh, that's awful. Cool. Anyway,
all right. Well, that's a little diversion, just to add a little something light to the end of this very serious podcast, because we usually talk about serious issues.
Oh, it's very, very serious.
Yes.
Cool. So, there'll be a few show notes this week for the 9 to 5 Mac articles and stuff like that.
Yep.
They'll be at ruminatepodcast.com/50. Oh, we've hit 50.
Yeah,
wow.
We've hit, woohoo, 50. That's that's pretty awesome. Yeah, and if you wanna get all the September 12th coverage, come over to macstories.net and you'll see mine and the rest of the team's articles going up fast and furious, and we've got so much stuff going on through the end of the month. It's going to be a pretty wild month at Mac Stories. So
yeah, I think it's going to be pretty busy for just Apple news in general. I think
it will be.
Of course, my advice during the event is just ignore Twitter, because there's just too many tweets.
I don't know how people keep up with it, because mine scrolls by so quickly that I really can't do it. I mean, I keep it open and I will go to it once in a while, but you leave it alone for 15-20 minutes and I'll have like 500.
Yeah, I tend to. I'll save up my hot takes until it's quietened down a bit,
because you want to make sure everybody gets the Robb Lewis hot takes. I understand. That's
what people are there for.
Yeah, it's the best hot takes, and I appreciate that, for one, because I don't want you to just scroll by. I want to sit, consider your hot takes, and then mock them accordingly.
Perfect.
All right.
Cool. Well, I'll speak to you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Talk to you later, Robb.